Welcome to Portable Entrepreneur, where normally we are talking all about how to grow your web design and marketing business and how to get better results for clients. But today I wanted to switch things up a little bit because I want to answer a very important question, one that I get asked pretty often. And in one way or another, the question has to do with how am I able to balance my work life where I'm running my businesses, I have my team running efficiently, I'm able to make sure that revenue is coming in. And then on the flip side, I'm able to balance that with my life so I can actually have some time off. I could have some fun, spend time with family. And so I want to really share with you today how I have really been able to design my life intentionally so that I am able to have the time that I need, that I want to spend on the things that are the absolute most important to me. The things that if I look back at this time in my life, 10 to 20 years from now, I'm afraid that if I'm not doing those now, I'm going to regret that. And I want to make sure that those are happening because I want to make sure that I do what I want in my life and that I am enjoying my time. So this is really the things that I have done that have made the biggest impact in allowing me to have the freedom to make those decisions, to do those things that I want with my time. This has freed me up to be able to run my own businesses, to homeschool my two children and still be able to travel frequently because I love to do it. And this really isn't about me. This isn't about what I do. Those are simply the things that I choose to do with my time. Those are the most important to me to make happen at this point in my life. You may hate traveling. You may not have kids or want to keep your kids out of school. That's perfectly fine. This is about knowing what is most important to you and then figuring out how you are able to make those things happen. And you see, this is where we all at some point are filled with excuses. We give ourselves every reason to stay exactly where we are at, even if that's not where we want to be. We tell ourselves we don't have enough time. If only I had a couple more hours a day. If only my kids were little, or if only my kids were older. This and this and this. We just go on and on with the excuses. And so really, I would say the absolute biggest thing that has made the difference for me in being in this spot now, because this isn't something that just happened overnight. This was something that was carefully crafted with intention. I knew what I wanted and I had to figure out from how I would go from not having that to being in the position where I now am. So a lot of that I really contribute to the fact that I decided many, many years ago that what I would do is I would first, before anything else, I would decide what it is I specifically wanted, and then I would make the decision. Will I do that or will I not? And if I made that decision, yes, I want this, yes, I will do this, that decision became a non-negotiable. It wasn't, I will do this if I am able to do X, Y, or Z, or if I'm able to figure out X, Y, or Z. It's no, I will make this decision happen. I would not figure out when, I would not figure out how, I would not make plans behind it. It was simply a decision with nothing attached. And then once I made the decision, then I could figure out how to make that happen. Because when you have first made the decision to make it happen, well, then you ask yourself such better questions. You start to get really creative. But if you know that there's always a way out, that you can't necessarily do it, or it could be impossible if you can't figure out these things, well, then you're more likely to make that not happen. So as an example, in my personal life, years and years ago, I made the decision that I would move abroad. Why? It's just something I always wanted to do. It was just fun. I wanted to figure out how I could go from where I was and where I was comfortable to a completely different country, a different place, a different language, different culture, and just start over. Now, to some people that sounds crazy and they would never want to do something like that. For me, I wanted to figure that out. I just wanted to do that. And so I made the decision, this will happen. But you see, if before I said, well, let me figure this out. Oh, my kids are really, really small, because they were at the point where I moved. Oh, they're really too small for this. How will this impact them? Or what would I do with my house? Or what would I do with my car? Or how will this work with my business? And just on and on and on with everything that could go wrong or everything that could get in the way of me doing that. Instead of those becoming the excuses, those just became my to-do list. Well, this is happening. Okay, so now I got to figure out, well, what would my phone plan be there, or where do I actually want to go, or do we need to search for places to live, or how would we arrange our money to be able to do this, or does my business need to change in any way? You see, we start to ask ourselves much better questions, and this allows us to not have a way out. We have to come up with this. So as an even better example, in my business, when I made the decision, I want to homeschool my children. I want to keep them home. I want to be responsible for their education. First, this allows me to have more freedom to be able to travel, to be able to show them new things and new places, to have new experiences. So that ties into allowing me to have more freedom to go. But this really brought me back to my business, and it made me relook at a lot of things in business. You see, it wasn't if I can make such and such happen in my business, then I will homeschool. No. Homeschooling is very, very important to me. I want to do that, and I'm afraid I will regret it if I don't. So now I need to look at my business, and if I only have X number of hours per day or per week or however I arrange this, how can I make this happen? And then I started to see, after knowing that I've taken a lot of my tasks and I've handed them off to other people, I've eliminated tasks, I've delegated tasks, well, now I have to relook at this again, because now I still can't operate my business at the same time I'm homeschooling if everything remains the same. So I had to relook at things and say, okay, well, here's now 5 tasks that I wasn't paying attention to that I've now added to my plate that somebody else could completely be doing for me. Or these are things that I'm adding to my plate, but they really aren't the most important. They really aren't going to help push the revenue forward. They're actually just going to detract from it or delay it, and there's no reason to start these right now. So this allowed me to look at my business in a whole new light once again, because again, it wasn't if I could make the business happen differently, because I could have very well said, well, I just don't see where else I can cut things. I just don't think I'm going to have the time. This made me, I have to be able to get my time down to this allotted amount of time in order to be able to have my kids home. How am I going to do this? So it allows you to ask these better questions. But in my business, the next thing that I did was make sure that I have a process for everything. It doesn't matter how small it may seem, I have the process for everything. And in my business, when I have team members, and I have a smaller team because I don't want to have a big team. That's, again, intentional, takes more time. So I want to have a smaller, very dedicated team that has responsibilities for their particular task. So they're not just doing tasks and checking off a list. They have their own responsibility that if that is not done, the outcome is not achieved, I'm going to them because they are responsible for it. So this makes sure that I have the process in place to allow them to get the outcomes that I want them to have, so that my business is operating the way I want it to, even when I'm not exactly there. And then as everyone is working in their own processes, if that changes, they're also responsible for updating the process. Because it's also, I know, a very big time consumer. If someone leaves the team or they're out for a week on vacation, that I need to get someone else to step in. But if there's no process, well, that's gonna require a lot more of my time. So this really helps me manage not having to be in the business as much, but knowing that things are gonna get done the way that I want and expect for them to be done. So this really all starts with knowing what is most important to you. That's it. Not thinking about, oh, how would I make this happen? Do I have the time to make this happen? None of that. Strip all of that away. What if you could just simply sit for a minute and dream? What is it that would be most important to you, that you would love to spend your time doing, so that you can think about how you can put these decisions in place about what you will do? And these decisions are going to happen one at a time. I did not make all of these different things happen in my life all at one time. It was one piece at a time. I got that going. Now I can add another piece, and I may still need to reevaluate the first piece a little bit to make sure that second piece is fitting in, and you can slowly add in. And some things I've simply just had to say, no, I like the idea. I would love to do it. I'd love to work on it. I'd love to see this happen, but there is only so much time in a day. And at a point, time isn't necessarily an excuse, but it's a matter of prioritizing. is this one thing that I really want to do or that excites me, is it more important than these other things that I've already established? And if it is, great. We figure out a way, we plan it with intention to swap those out. And if it's not, we simply say no and we delay that to a later time. I hope this has given you a lot to think about so that you can see what is possible for you and the time that you have, so that you can enjoy working in your business, but you can also really enjoy the lifestyle that you can create for yourself as a portable entrepreneur. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you next time.